Hello and welcome to another edition of PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale history. In the last video we examined the two different versions of Cole McGrath, so it seems fitting that we'll be taking a look at the infamous stage this time, especially because it gives us a chance to get reacquainted with our good friend Sly Cooper in the process. Alden's Tower is one of two stages in PlayStation All-Stars that mashes up two franchises from the same developer. Sucker Punch Productions created both Sly Cooper and Infamous out of a love of comics. Sly had very cartoony inspirations, while Infamous took influence from the ever-popular DC and Marvel-style superhero comics. The similarities are notable, both feature very nimble characters capable of climbing great heights and both utilise flat comic book graphics in their cutscenes. So even aside from the same developer, it seems pretty reasonable that the two worlds will be mixed together. So let's take a closer look. During the events of Infamous, Cole went up against a man named Alden. He'd holed up in the poor areas of Empire City and started taking control using fortresses made of trash and an army of local gang members wearing armour of even more trash. Cole first directly went after Alden in a chapter known as Alden's Strikes, where Cole's friend Zeke had been captured and thrown in a cage in a fortress made of shipping crates. The inside of the fortress was a maze filled with hazards and enemies and was generally a bit of a slog. This shipping crate fortress appears to be the inspiration for the lower level of Alden's Tower. The walls are very similar to the shipping crate and junk walls of the fortress and resemble that fortress more than the actual lower levels of the tower. Yes, the tower itself. As you moved around the Warren area in Infamous, you could often see Alden's Tower looming ominously in the distance. It was also very difficult to access, but an entire mission centered around this location eventually. It is this tower that the stage as a whole is based on. Because of the sheer scale of the tower, you spent much of the Racesphere mission climbing, and this is why the stage constantly climbs too, reflecting the height of the tower itself. When you stormed the tower as Cole, Zeke decided to come along and help. Since Zeke didn't have the same parkour skills as Cole, he had to travel up on some makeshift elevators powered by Cole. Cole would frequently go on ahead to reach the power generators, then shoot bolts at them to bring Zeke up. These elevators make an appearance in PlayStation All-Stars. There are two in different places, one during each transition upwards. Each elevator has a fan generator at the top that starts spinning as they move, despite the fact that Cole isn't there to power them. While that was how Zeke climbed the tower, Cole climbed it another way. Since the tower was entirely made of trash, bizarre things were often found sticking out of it, including buses and neon signs. The neon signs were often signs found around Empire City throughout the game and included things like pachinko parlors, despite being set in New York, and coffee shops. Many of these signs were used as platforms or handholds for Cole as he traversed the tower, and just generally made the place look a bit more interesting than just a big grey pillar of junk. These neon signs make an appearance in Alden's Tower in PlayStation All-Stars, and here they act as hazards. Much like Paris' police sign, chucking opponents at these signs would cause the signs to shatter and short-circuit, stunning opponents into dropping AP. When you reached the top of Alden's Tower, you faced off against Alden himself in a large arena filled with cover, and here you fought off various opponents, including a gigantic junk robot monster. The centerpiece of the arena is a large crane, which seemingly was used to carry stuff direct to the top of the tower. This arena can be seen when you reach the top of the tower in PlayStation All-Stars as well, sitting in the background behind the fighters. The crane once again sits there, and it can also be seen in the intro to the stage when you first load it up. In the last video I briefly mentioned a device known as the Racesphere. What is the Racesphere? Well, it's a small device which can be detonated to activate a conduit's power at the expense of maybe 1 or 200 lives of normal people in the surrounding explosion. And it's the Racesphere that basically caused all the problems in the Infamous series. Without the Racesphere there would be no beasts, no crazy tar ladies, no gigantic bug monsters, and of course no Cole McGrath the Electric Man. During the Alden's Tower portion of Infamous, Alden had gotten hold of the Racesphere and wanted to use it to enhance his telekinetic powers by activating it at the top of his creation. Cole managed to stop him, only for the sphere to fall into someone else's hands in the process. Because of course. During the battle at the top of the tower, the sphere could be seen being held by Alden as it was slowly being charged up, although this didn't add a time limit to the fight, even though it seems like it should have done. The Racesphere appears on a platform in PlayStation All-Stars in a similar way to its appearance in the Alden fight. Here, the sphere will charge up if fighters stand inside the radius, but eventually it bursts into a shower of AP. Not nearly as dramatic as its appearance in Infamous, but still useful nonetheless. Throughout the Infamous games, Cole could find things known as blast shards. These were irradiated pieces of metal that were scattered around by the Racesphere blast. There were about 300 in each game, and collecting them gave Cole experience points and helped increase his energy bar, so they were very useful items to find. A couple of blast shards can be seen in the background in Alden's Tower. These ones are just a background detail acting as a small Easter egg for fans of the series. And now let's look at the music, shall we?
freaks are brutal.
Ready? Ready? Fight!
Hola, my name is Carmelita.
If you remember Sly Cooper's video, you'll remember me mentioning someone called Carmelita Fox. She was an Interpol officer who was determined to catch Sly at all costs, following him doggedly around the world. Her determination veered on obsession, with some hints of a romantic interest throughout the series. Well, when she wasn't trying to blast him anyway.
That Carmelita. Always trying to resolve her problems with a shock pistol.
In Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus, Carmelita popped up on certain levels to chase Sly and shoot at him. These levels were basically chase levels where you had to stay one step ahead of her at all times. However, the two formed a temporary truce at the end of the game, with Carmelita lending Sly her jetpack, which, if you remember, is also his level 2 super. In Sly 2, her involvement in things was less blatant. She could often be found prowling the levels looking for Sly, and the player had to work to avoid her. However, again, she also helped Sly out at the end by piloting a helicopter for him. In Sly 3 and 4, she became playable in certain missions, with her shock pistol being at the centre of the action. Essentially, she largely stopped being good at this whole catching Sly thing. So maybe this is why she turns up on Alden's Tower looking for criminals. Searching there kinda makes sense, since Empire City largely turned into a hive of scum and villainy following the Race Fear blast, but assuming that characters like Sackboy or Taro are criminals is just odd. Silly Carmelita. She flies around in a helicopter, possibly referencing her assistance at the end of Sly 2, and she'll fire at fighters with her shock pistol, her weapon of choice. It's pretty self-explanatory what a shock pistol is.
This pistol packs a paralyzing punch.
That's what I was about to say. Anyway, Carmelita aside, there are other Sly Cooper elements hidden away in Alden's Tower. Let's take a look, shall we? Throughout the Sly series, there is an emblem used to reference Sly Cooper himself. He uses this emblem in the first game as a calling card when he steals things, and later games simply used it as a logo. You'll get used to seeing this emblem in Sly 4 as it appeared on the never-ending loading screens. The emblem, funnily enough, also turns up in Infamous, where it's visible on Cole's backpack, simply as an inside joke for the developers. Since it appears in Infamous, naturally it also turns up in Alden's Tower in PlayStation All-Stars, marking the first and only time when the mashup is visible as soon as the stage loads, since the emblem can be seen in the first area, tucked in a trash pile. The emblem could also be seen whenever Sly broke into safes throughout the series, as Sly would replace the safe's contents with the emblem, but what exactly was safes there for? Well, throughout the levels of the Sly games, you could pick up clue bottles in various places. Collect enough of these, and Bentley was able to decipher the clues and find a combination to a safe in the area, meaning you could now unlock it. Usually this is where you would unlock new abilities and items that made later areas easier. A safe makes a brief appearance in Alden's Tower. When you reach the second level, a safe can be seen tucked away in the background, sitting on top of another pile of rubbish. This stage seems to really love stuffing Sly paraphernalia in rubbish piles for some reason. There's another possible reference to Sly Cooper in the first level, with graffiti on the wall referencing Mr. D. This could potentially be a reference to Dimitri, the dancing Lothario lizard boss that you fought in Slide 2, who later becomes an unlikely ally in 3 and 4. I'm not sure if this is a direct reference or not. I'd figured I'd chuck a mention in all the same. And now, Sly Cooper music.
Concentrate on the target!
Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time with another character. I'll try not to keep you waiting. Stay tuned.